Welcome into the Fantasy Rant podcast. I'm your host Mason Beck. Today we got Lee Cook, Dan Baker, the usual crew here. We're going to be diving back into these kind of rookie analysis. Last time we touched, I'm spacing, but we touched some rookie. We're now touching Matthew.
I
We
didn't
didn't
touch
touch
any
anybody.
rookies. Hey,
We
you
did,
keep
I
that to
didn't,
yourself. I didn't touch
let's
anybody.
get that up front. No touching of any rookies
You
at
listen
all.
here, Robert.
Sorry. Analyzing, touching
Mason
might
likes
not be the word.
Mason
Yeah,
likes Mason.
Hey.
You understood what I meant. But today we're going to be talking about Matthew Golden in the first round wide receiver, went to the Packers. First time Packers have drafted a wide receiver in the first round. Is it ever? I don't really know. I know it's been a long time. I don't have that stat pull up in front of me, but it's been way too long since they've spent a first on a wide receiver, if they ever have. A lot of questions about him going there necessarily. Some people love it. Some people hate it. That's what we're going to be talking about, whether you might be feeling like kind of on the fence of whether or not you should be drafting him, late first round, early second round, or whether or not you should be avoiding him. He's one of those players who's really up in the air of how people feel about him. We're going to break that down a little bit more for you. And the first thing, go for it, Lee.
23 years. 2002 was the last first round rookie wide receiver.
2002.
The illustrious Javon Walker out of Florida.
The illustrious.
3 years after that, did Aaron Rodgers take over as QB? Like 2-3 years.
Well, he sat on the bench for a while, but I believe they drafted him in 05 because that's the same year Washington drafted Jason Campbell. Maybe it was 04. And 04, 05.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because it might have been the only good, really solid wide receivers Rodgers ever had was Devontae and Jordy. I don't think he really had anybody else who was consistently locked down. But here you go. Packers finally got their guy. Got Jordan Love. Crowded wide receiver room. But really, just jumping into it. Obviously taken in the first round. He's got some high level prospect, or talent to him. Prospects really like him to get drafted out early. Obviously, what about him? Are you guys seeing that? Really is transitions into this fantasy aspect. Is he going to be a bust, or is just that late round, first round pick that is getting drafted way too early in dynasty drafts because he was drafted in the first round, or is he actually worth that? I mean, what's kind of the pros you're seeing from him that say he is worth that early rookie pick?
Well, I mean, the speed, which is to me, that's the big red flag. And we'll get those in a minute. When a guy gets overdrafted just because of his 40 time, it concerns me, but it is there. I mean, who knows if he doesn't look like he runs that fast with a helmet and shoulder pads on, but I mean, he's fast. Don't get me wrong. He just doesn't look 4.29 fast. I mean, he had a really good junior year, 9 touchdowns, and it was really the last 10 games where he came on strong. So there is hope. The age, he's not, particularly old guy. I'm trying to pull age. Is he 21? I believe.
I believe he is on the younger side.
23.
21.9.
Older than I expected. It'll be 23 when week 1 starts.
Okay.
But still, that gives him some runway. To have only played 3 years in college, you would expect him to be a little younger, though.
No, overall, you asked if we think he's going to be a bust, and I do, considering his draft capital right now. Right now, Fantasy Pros has his rookie pick at 109. Keep Trade Cut has him at 201. I do think that's where I'm seeing him go in most drafts, is that early second round. But I would take guys that are listed behind him that I would take over him just from the wide receiver category are Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, Jack Beck. That'd probably be the end of the list for guys that are going after him. But there's other running backs I would be willing to take a shot on, or Jackson Dart's listed behind him. He's just not the wide receiver that I want. He's in the convoluted system, but he does have obviously the 4.29 40-yard dash, which is pulling everybody in, and that's what's driving him up to the 109 by Fantasy Pros and the 201 for Keep Trade Cut. It's everyone's directed to that big play, and he can deliver that, but not enough
We were talking about the pros of Matthew Golden, but it seems like you guys don't really have much pros about him.
Also asked if we think he'll be a bust, and that is
I did also ask that. Yes, correct.
He's fast. That's my
yeah, he's fast, and I mean, hey, so was who was Justin? No, not Justin Ross. Who was that receiver?
Justin Ross was one of them, I believe.
For the Bengals years ago. John Ross.
John Ross,
yes. Yeah. Purely speed. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think the speed is 100% his main factor. You kind of take that away, there's nothing really that shows me he's a first-round talent worthy in the NFL draft, let alone the rookie draft and your dynasty startup. I mean, it just – I think about it like if he was not drafted in the first – would he even be off of what he's shown being in the Packers crowded wide receiver room? Would he even like to me, he wouldn't even be considered in the first 2 rounds if he was in a dynasty rookie draft, if he was not drafted in the first round in the NFL. Like, I think that he wouldn't even be considered in most cases.
I fully agree with that. And on top of it, I do think that right now, if you look at the wide receiver room around him, that yes, it's pretty convoluted. It's going to be up in the air for year one. And on top of it, though, they rarely throw the ball. They were 30th in the league last year in pass attempts. On top of it, of 44 qualifying quarterbacks, Jordan Love was 33rd in completion percentage. So when they are throwing the ball, it's not always, getting to their wide receivers. That with the convoluted wide receiver room, I just don't see year one working out. Maybe next year if Watson and Dobbs leave. But even then, it's kind of like Reed's the same player.
Yeah, no, I mean, go for it, Lee.
I was just going to say, I mean, the crowded wide receiver room, they drafted another wide receiver in the 3rd round, Savion Williams from TCU.
Who is also a speedy wide receiver.
And the big difference is he's 6'5", 210 and speedy. That does, to me, give them a different element. I'd be a lot higher on him if they hadn't have drafted Golden in the first round. Do want to correct something. I guess the one place where I looked was incorrect. He'll be 22, not 23 at the start of the season. But when you look at like just the production, so Savion Williams played 5 years. Now, half of his production was rushing because TCU was using him running the ball a lot as well. But he had 3 more touchdowns and essentially the same amount of combined yards from scrimmage. Even if those guys leave, that's one of those ones I wouldn't be surprised. He's a little bit more raw as far as his route running. But I could see him having a bigger impact on the offense than Golden this year.
I mean, yeah, that was kind of the next thing I was going to jump into is, really how like his landing spot impacted him. We've already said much of, how the wide receivers around him, very crowded room. Like you were saying, Dan, Watson and Dobbs are on their last year of their contract, right? So, I mean, that does open up the future, but I don't know. I mean, you're talking just about those 2 wide receivers leaving. So you still have Jaden Reed potentially. And I'd assume they'd at least sign Watson or Dobbs to somewhat of a smaller deal. That's my guess. I don't think they'd overpay to either of them, but tight ends as well. Like, I mean, you got to think of Kraft and Musgrave. Those are 2 tight ends who, Musgrave not as promising, but they both look like promising tight ends. So, I mean, they're going to feed into that share. And just, yes, Golden is a first-round wide receiver, but it's, in my opinion, one, like you were saying, Jordan Love, they don't throw the ball much. And even when he does, he's not the most efficient. It's really a bad situation. And it's not the worst quarterback necessarily, but it's a just bad situation to be in as a rookie. And because even Josh Jacobs has, including this upcoming season, 3 more years on his contract. They spent a decently early pick on Marshawn Lloyd the year before. They want to really build off this run game. It's not a good wide receiver situation for anyone, really. I mean, Jaden Reed even is going to, in my opinion, going to really struggle some weeks.
I mean, we saw that last year. He was one of the bigger disappointments in fantasy, again, given his ADP. I felt, without having it in front of me, I feel like late 3rd to 4th round. I feel like Jaden Reed was going maybe 4th or 5th. But
and
still,
Dynasty
that was
startups?
way too early. Oh, no. Jaden Reed in redraft leagues last year. I would just say
He was not.
he
Was
a
he going
disappointment
that early?
last year. Let me take a look.
I feel like he was going like 7th round because there was still a lot of people still were believing in Christian Watson and Dobbs, and then you said Melton as well was somebody that some people had some worries about. I guess I didn't, but apparently you did.
I mean, Wicks gets open.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're forgetting about
Wicks.
Dattavian Wicks. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's too many people there, including Kraft, Musgrave. Josh Jacobs isn't really a catching running back, but he's a talented running back.
It's just keeps on pulling up 2025 right now. I'll get that pulled up in a minute. But yeah, Jaden Reed was a disappointment last year, super boomer bust. I think he had like 3 big games, and then pretty much the rest of the season was disappointing. So like,
yeah,
I'm not expecting much more from this rookie.
I remember starting off the year thinking like, oh yeah, Jaden Reed slam dunk pick in my draft this year, and then like now I'm sitting here just like, I mean, shit, he's gonna be so inconsistent for me next year, or I trade him for like nothing. All Packers wide receivers are in that really weird spot. Like, are you wanting to trade for Jaden Reed right now?
No,
are you wanting to trade
personally.
away Jaden Reed right now?
Yes. For the people who are still holding on to hope. So really quick, we were exactly on. You were saying the first week you were so pumped for Jaden Reed. 31.1 points in week 1. Looks like
I remember thinking
lot.
this dude's gonna carry my team through this whole season, right? Like,
right. And then I was saying that he had 3 games that were like you were pumped about, and he had 3 games over 15 points. Everything else pretty much disappointing. 1 game of 13 points, but
he'd go his week where he'd get his 2 catches for like 30 yards, and then the next week it's like 1 catch and a touchdown, and you're just like, oh, thank God he got in the end zone. Like,
the problem is,
I feel like you haven't got a chance to jump it. There you go. Never mind.
the problem with Jaden Reed is just it's the amount he's on the field. He's just, there's a lot of times where he's not on the field. I do think that changes. I think I wouldn't sell him right now just because I think his value is lower than what it should be. I think his value will go up. And
I agree, even if it's just a little bit up, the value is not where it should be right now.
But it's always sketchy starting. It's definitely sketchy. Depends on, you want him in a flex spot and you want to try to pick your weeks, but you're playing with poison for sure right now. We'll see what this year looks like.
Yeah, I think
since I skipped over pros, I will say the things that I noticed was that he does settle into zone routes fairly well. It's not like he's elite. I think that he's got a solid contested catch rate for being for 5'11", 46.4 over his career, 70% last year. And he can run routes from anywhere on the field. So that's a plus. You can line him up. I do think that he's a good fit for the system that he's in. Any branch of the Sean McVay system where you're putting men in motion nonstop, that's going to be a good fit for a fast guy like him. But that was about it for the pros. Just want to throw it in there.
So
we got to get some pros in here. We've been talking shit about him for like 15 minutes. So
dog down the guy for somebody that would make me look ridiculous, just as a human on a track field, anything.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I love how we're just comparing like, he's not good. It's like, yeah, dude, I run like a 7-second 40, if that, like, so.
Oh, that's being kind, probably.
The thing there is,
I'm slugging beers,
record,
talking shit.
The track record for these guys who just blow it out of the water with the 40 time. And Chris Johnson, and obviously it's a different position, but he's really, I mean, Xavier Worthy had a really strong 40.
I was not expecting a Chris Johnson mention tonight.
I'm talking about the record setters. I think he's number 2 or 3 ever. I think he was at a 4.24.
Yeah, I know he's top 5 for sure.
Yeah. John Ross was 4.22, I think, is the fastest ever, who you mentioned earlier. Hey, I'm 30 minutes from ECU. Chris Johnson is a local hero. That's a jersey that my son wears when we go to ECU games. So we got a lot of love for Chris Johnson. But the majority of those guys
Sorry.
Respect for that.
Do what?
Respect for the Chris Johnson, man.
Yeah. I mean, probably the best player in ECU history, but definitely the best pro career. But those guys just generally don't turn out, especially when you – who knows what Henry Ruggs would have been. You know, hell, he may be back in the league soon. I hear he's getting out. But it just doesn't pan out because there's so much more than just pure speed. And again, if you watched him at Texas, he looked fast, but he didn't look like he was that guy to me.
I agree. For some reason, like I thought the yak ability would be just like a tier up. It's not like it's bad, you know, but I feel like it's relied on speed rather than like making guys miss, like breaking tackles. He's just decent at most things outside of being very fast is the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see it too. It's just there's not really anything that, like, I think he's, you know, probably above average at a lot of things talent-wise to be drafted in the first, but the speed is what got him into the first. If he ran a 4.39, you know, had 0.10 seconds, do you think he would have been a first-round pick?
Not a chance.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And that's just, it's a sad thing about it, and it's got everybody's head shaking. Some people really believe in him, and if you draft him and he works out for you, I'm glad that you did not listen to us and it worked out for you. But none of us believe in him, and we think you shouldn't either.
With everything we've said, let's just talk about the draft, because I mean there may still be some rookie drafts. We know redraft season's coming. It's July, fellas, so we've got an actual NFL preseason Hall of Fame game. Well, we've got a game at the end of this month. But Keep Trade Cut has him at 13 right now overall. So 201. They've got him at wide receiver 4 behind Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan, and Emeka Egbuka. So I kind of feel like that's the right spot. I mean, are you taking –
okay, never mind. Sorry.
Are you taking Luther Burden, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris? Those are the next 3 guys. Are you taking any of those guys over Matthew Golden?
That's how I started off.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly what I said to start off. But Mason, what do you think?
I know Dan said he would take all of them, and I don't know. To me, I think I'd rather take the first round capital. I mean, I get what you're saying with Beck. You know, he's got easy path to potentially wide receiver 1 next season. I don't think he gets that this season with Jacoby being their veteran presence. I think he'll be the number 1 still, and Bowers obviously. And then Trey Harris. I mean, Ladd's obviously the number 1. Harbaugh's not really a traditionally passing coach. So I think those 2 factors necessarily kind of make me where I would go Golden instead. But if you went either of those 2 or over Golden, I'm not going to call you out for it. I'm going to say, I get it.
I think it's a reach for Beck. There are opportunities there, but I think right now, I think the early reports were he's not running with the start. He's running with the 3rd team, if I remember hearing that correctly right now. Obviously, it's really early. It's mini camp.
It's so hard to tell off mini camps. Like, dude, Devin Singletary was practicing with the Giants' first team squad. Like,
well, yeah, but it is – if you're a rookie drafted to be that, you kind of want to – I remember, and again, just going back a little ways, Terry McLaurin came in and was running with the first team immediately as a 3rd-round pick. And there was a huge opening there, and obviously we've seen what he did. And I do like, you know, Beck's potential. But to me, the only guy that I see there that there's really – I like Trey Harris a lot. I don't think with the draft capital difference I could take him. Jaden Higgins would be the one, just because he's, you know, right at the first of the 2nd round, with Tank Dell's career in flux and being tied to CJ Stroud. You know, he can be a really strong wide receiver too, and be much more valuable for you than Golden. And I think the floor is quite a bit higher for Higgins than Golden. I'm not sure about the ceiling, but I think the combination of floor and ceiling is there for Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Higgins thing being wide receiver 2 for Stroud, who, you know, little letdown of a year too, but looks like he has a promising future. I get that as well. I mean, we just don't like Golden. It seems like that,
Yeah. I don't
like
like his name. It's a stupid name.
But
We're
I mean,
all into. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think I've ever seen a first round wide receiver that since I've started getting really into Dynasty that I'm super off of like this. Like, I mean, obviously there's sometimes where it's like, drop him back a little bit, but this is the most I've ever been off of a first round drafted wide receiver.
So you were Team QJ, huh?
I was drafting him 109, 110, yes.
I would say
I believe that was where he's going.
Was Keon beginning of the second last? Keon Coleman.
Keon was about
201,
112. Like
they traded right. Back. They traded out of the first. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Golden would be up there in terms of like the last 5 years, round one wide receivers that I'm like OUT out on. But we're all dogging on his year one. We said career predictions. Like, what do you guys think his absolute upside would be? Like peak performance.
I mean, I think really he's going to be that kind of guy. Like, it's not a good career projection, but I'm gonna kind of say like Gabe Davis type of production. And that's not a good thing where he's going to have these weeks because that pure speed where, he's just going to burn some corners. There's going to be those weeks where that happens if he gets enough playing time to where it's going to, all it takes in fantasy is a 160-yard touchdown. And there you go. You got your points for the week, and he's going to have those type of games, same as Gabe Davis did with Josh Allen. I mean, you're just going to have these games where you get a deep throw off to him because of the speed, but there's going to be those weeks where you start him and he's going to give you those 3 or 4 points and you're going to hate yourself for convincing yourself to start him. And he's going to be that guy that is going to be a risky flex for probably his entire career.
I think that I don't hate that. I think the absolute ceiling, and this is a better ceiling than what Mason gave him, because I think we always have to allow room that we're just wrong, we're off. Yeah. Some of these guys do become more productive, especially have only played 3 years in college. Who knows what he would have done as a senior? He could have had a huge production increase. He certainly would have been projected to. Deshaun Jackson, I think, is the ceiling for him. A similar body type, a little faster 40. If the separation, he's going to need to improve the separation ability, but obviously he has the physical tools. Deshaun was never – your top tier wide receiver one ever. But he was a guy
was he electric.
He was electric when he got the ball in his hands in space, and he could give you those 30-point weeks.
Hey, all I could think of every time I hear Deshaun Jackson is one play. It was either Christmas or Christmas Eve against the Giants. Punt return for the win. Do you know that play?
Story. No, but it sounds like we're in for a Christmas story. Tell us, Mason.
No, but I mean, Lee, you're such an old man, dude. You've brought up Chris Johnson and Deshaun Jackson. Like, shout out to you.
You are old.
I'll be a little older in about 10 days, fellas.
Hey, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you.
Well, we'll have another recording in 7. But Hollywood Brown would be my top tier prediction for him. Really don't have it. We've hit that a lot.
And that's not a good prediction. Yeah.
Yeah, not a great prediction.
All right.
Yeah, 1,000-yard season.
All right. Well, it seems like we've honestly touched everything we kind of wanted to on Golden.
No touching. We didn't touch Golden at all.
No touching. But analyze.
Damn hands to yourself.
Really quick. One last thing before we jump off here. Of all of the first round wide receivers drafted, and I think it was the last 5 years, he's had the least yards of all of the first round wide receivers. Henry Ruggs, Quentin Johnson, Ricky Pearsall were the 3 above, like directly above him.
Hey, don't you talk bad about Slick Rick.
But all better than him, like considerably for the most part. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Ricky Pearsall was not a high, necessarily productive wide receiver in college either. So, Makes sense. But all right. Yeah, like I said, this is going to do it for Golden. None of us are obviously too high on him. If you think we're wrong, go ahead, draft him. Prove us wrong. Send us a message after the season if he goes off. We appreciate it. We like being told wrong when we are. But thank you for joining. If you made it this far, we appreciate it. Leave a like, subscribe, Stadium Rant. We got plenty of sports content coming out from baseball, football, hockey, all sorts of stuff. We got articles coming out. Just where you want to be for your sports content. But we appreciate you for joining us. Good luck. Don't draft Matthew Golden. Have a good night.
With the first